The community has developed coping mechanisms to minimize their exposure to risks. For example, in order to tackle the insufficient water supply, the residents store water in containers or purchase it informally from neighbors who have connections. Another example is the informal staircase that the residents built themselves in order to deal with the accessibility and mobility issues between the different levels of the hill. Regarding housing problems, the community used a housing construction booklet provided by SEA in order to aid in strengthening housing structures. In terms of deterring youth from engaging in criminal activity, parents encourage their children to stay in school for as long as is feasible for the family, and the community also organizes activities for children on weekends. Many of these coping mechanisms help residents to deal with risk on an everyday basis, but these alone are not enough. For instance, water storage in this manner can spread bacteria and disease. For some cases, the community have little to no coping mechanisms, such as with TB. Residents simply tend to ignore and try to hide the sickness for fear of social stigmatization, which in turn increases isolation and decreases community sense, which both in turn further reproduce risk and prevent the success of coping mechanisms. For example, when community sense is low, youth are less willing to participate in sports and activities and are more vulnerable to criminal activity. Another example would be that of neighbors who are less willing to help each other out as community sense is weak. At the beginning of the invasion, the strong sense of community the migrants originally had has clearly deteriorated over time. In 1961, the introduction of the law of barriadas brought on the benefit of providing services and allotment of individual property rights. However, this law was a contributor to weakening the original strong sense of community. This is because people started to care only for their own properties, which resulted in neighbors helping each other less. The Miadas could have acted as an entry point in bringing back that sense of community alongside empowerment of the people through co-management. However, this did not happen due to the failure of the Miadas project and the lack of local interest in community initiatives.